Hey everybody, it's Booksy. This is going to be an update for Ater on December 30th. So Ater had some problems the last few days. I am in a Discord with some folks and I'll talk about it a little bit with some people. But I've also been I've got my head a little bit in the sand lately. I'm working on a lot of different things, and I've been spending a lot more time on AMC just because that's a really big play to me. And whether you're in it or not, I don't care. I mean, it's your choice, your money, right? But for me, it's like something I've been in for a long time, and ATER was my second stock that I picked out of the quote unquote meme stock. So I do really care about ATER. I have a pretty sizable position, but anyways, I've been focusing a lot more on AMC. So I apologize for going MIA for a bit. Basically, last video I did, I mapped out this fractal, and then almost immediately, it followed it one more time, and then it got really small all of a sudden. And when that happened, I thought that's kind of odd because it actually had sort of been, it kind of varies. I mean, yeah, sure, sometimes it's really flat, right? But here, anyways, it looked like it was building momentum, right? Got small right in the center of the curve. And then as it was going out of the curve, it was like, oh, look at that. The pushes are getting bigger here, right? Almost mimicking what we see on the other side. But then all of a sudden, it sort of just turned this weird thing looking here into almost a head and shoulder. I mean, I wouldn't call it that because this didn't come up from a lower area, but this is a very strange breakout. I couldn't really have anticipated it. I think there was you look at other indicators like the RSI and other things. I mean, there's just nothing that really makes it seem like, oh, this should happen right here, right, in this particular spot. When it happened, at first I was not super worried because, well, we've done this before where we sort of broken into this lower region of this arc. But then, it didn't recover and it went below it. It tried to go out and then just this massive sell. And the push down, oddly, is not super significant. If you check out the volume in this region, it's all skewed now because of this gigantic candle, this 53,000 sell or whatever it was. Here's what I think is really going on, okay? I think that I'm just going to lay it out there for you. This is a theory. I can't prove this, right? But it's just based on what I've noticed over the past several months, okay? That we are in a time right now when we are dealing with institutional trading that has basically run the show for a long time. And now they've seen this opportunity to sort of get in on this meme stock craze. And I think what's going on is that they are, and by they, I'm talking about the bigger guys who have these institutionally have a ton of liquidity, and they can trade through the options chain, right? Open to massive short positions whenever they feel like it, right? Because they have that equity. And I'm thinking people like your BlackRocks and Vanguard and all these others or whatever. But the reason I'm saying that is because essentially, what I'm thinking is going on is that they're trading all of these meme stocks almost like an ETF, where they group them all together. And that's why all your meme stocks are still trading the same way, even though retail I wouldn't say retail has exhausted their money. That's not true. But I think a large amount of the volume now is not retail, right, on a day-to-day basis. And so the reason why all these stocks seem to move in sync with each other at times, sometimes they don't, but sometimes they do. And they usually do when they're moving big moves, right? They either move in sync or they're complete opposites on these larger moves. But the reason that I think that is just because of evidence, maybe it's anecdotal, but just looking at here's what's happened, right? And so, yesterday and the day before, AMC got a really nasty push down, and it looked almost identical to this. Let me show you. I know this isn't an AMC, but I just want you to see it. And by nasty, I mean, you have to look relative to itself, right? Not to ATER, but that's a 10% move. Now, ATER, this particular move right here, was not 10%, right? It was 15%, and that felt really bad. My point is that it happened in sync. It was like both stocks were undergoing this sort of a spring at the same time. And in AMC, this right here is the spring fractal. It's very distinct patterning, and it looks the same basically every time. And so when I was tracking AMC, I saw that, okay, we're going towards this weird spring fractal that usually indicates a massive turnaround. Well, then look at what happened today on AMC, okay? I mean, let's look at this. So you got this massive push, and then you have this sort of plateau, another push, and then you've got a bounce and a 1, 2, 3 push up, okay? You can't tell me that's not like the exact same. Like you got this push down, sideways, plateau, down, you got a bounce. This one's, then you got a 1, 2, 3, okay, push. Or you could do it 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter to me. My point is that these have been trading almost the same. And then even the end of the day today, it looks like the retrace was the same. And here's what I think is happening is that a spring, right? If you look at Wyckoff theory, a spring is intended to scare people, right? It's intended to scare people. It's intended to find liquidity, right? To like give a final shakeout oftentimes. And essentially like position the institution in a place where they don't have to worry about paper hands holding the stock down, right? People who are already sold are going to sell on fear. So they sold that 54,000 or whatever sold, or that could have been a short, right? So they're doing a lot of different things. They're trying to shake out paper hands. Those are people that will potentially cause, the stock to drop as it's going up. It lets them have more control in that regard. It also helps accumulate shorts, right? Like every time this thing has been shorted down, a number of people have covered, right, and made money. And certainly, like if they're lending shares, the institutions, they're collecting on that, right? That percentage that they're lending out, they're going to collect on that, the interest on that. So, and then in addition, you've got options and hedging, all these other things that are going on, right? Where they're making money on derivatives, and it's a mess. But the point is that when you have something like this happen, it's almost, if you look at a chart and you just see this massive breakdown and it really doesn't make much sense to you, then chances are it may not be what you think it is. And to panic and like flip out is probably not the best thing. Now, there are times where you have like real world problems, right? Like when COVID hit or a number of things, right? The 2008 housing bubble and all that stuff. There's all kinds of different things that happen that can cause stocks to just plummet suddenly. So, keep your ear to the ground. But for me, when I was watching this and I saw how it correlated with AMC, that to me just was like, okay, I think BlackRock or whoever it is, like they want this final push out. And it's a positioning move. It's helping them to better position themselves. They can accumulate in these really, really low regions, shake out like the last bit of paper hands, get some shorts on board who are going to cover pretty quick when they realize that they just got trapped in the play. And then the only alternative to that is really just that I'm wrong and they really just want to tank the stock. But I'm telling you, like nothing else that I've seen about this stock makes me think that. So for me to change my entire thesis because of this one move is not wise. Like that's not wisdom. That's foolishness. That's trading with with your emotions and not with your head. Everything else about this setup has been really, really good. Institutionally, like I'm not afraid of them, right? I think I know what they're doing. In terms of like shorts and all the shorts that are just really bearish on this stock, they're just dumb. Like I just don't believe them. Like, and I also don't see their case. And then, we talked about the accumulation schematic on this thing. It's massive. The on-balance volume for this thing is skyrocketed. All right. And it is not, there's no major correction that's happened. It's still like skyrocket high. And if we're really in a test phase and we just got through a macro spring, then why would you like panic? It's like there's no reason to panic. Like, yeah, that's scary. I get it. I see that. But it's like you've got the ceiling here is ridiculously high. I mean, we're talking about at least 50, and then beyond that, if this thing has like a macro move, we can wait and see. We don't have to like predict it. We are talking about a huge move, up to the hundreds. I mean, that's not a given, but even $80 from where we are now is just a humongous move. And so everything that we've been talking about, we've watched it happen. It's like there's no reason to like flip out, like nothing has changed. And I mean, look at the chart here. Even if tomorrow, and I think this is what will happen, I think tomorrow you're going to see that we're probably going to get a push down one more time to a retrace, right? And this is more like Elliott wave stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It works out. Wave 3 is the biggest. I measured them. So you could expect like an ABC correction. An ABC usually comes down to like a 50%, which is right around $4. But again, it's like how do you measure the move? This could be A, B, C, but I think C could be pretty deep. I'm expecting $4. I know the options chain, I think, is somewhere between 4 and 450. So anywhere in this region tomorrow. Maybe it only comes down to like 410. But yeah, and then totally after that 3-day weekend, that's when I would expect to see a bigger move. If it doesn't happen after the 3-day weekend, we just want to see it kind of start correcting and get back into like its normal trading range here. If this is let me put it this way, okay? If this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, of a small move, this is a pretty small move. I know this is not a small percentage, a large percentage. We hit the top of this range. We go down. What happens when we come back up? I'll tell you what happens. You create an inverse head and shoulder, okay, and it's friggin' perfect, right? You can see it right here. You want to know why they do what they do? Like, look no further, right? Like, I don't think there's a real strong way they could invalidate this unless it comes like way, way low. But honestly, I think probably just even coming down to here, like it's fine. It just typically you don't want the shoulder to be like super lower. But again, this is at an angle. Yeah, so this is just gonna, if it comes down and then we see a move up, that's gonna just create a massive inverse head and shoulder pattern, right? And then you're looking at a more macro Elliott wave. And I'm not a huge Elliott wave guy, so if I get it wrong, forgive me. But a macro would be like, this would be number 1, right? And then you'd have your correction. And then the third wave is usually the biggest. So if this is a 9, let's see, 27, let's just say 30% move, then you're talking a possible, I'm going to measure it just a second. Yeah, if this is an Elliott wave, we'll see. I think it could be. I think this is what they're trying to start. I'll just end the video on a positive. Okay, I don't know where did I get 30% from? Oh, I know why. Because, all right, so these are 9% each, but they also go down. You can't just add them. Math. 18%. Okay, that's a little more like it. Usually the second wave is the biggest. Not always. It just can't be the smallest. That's the only real rule. So let's take a look. Yeah, so even like, we'd have to break out of this region right here to really be a true, because that's 16%. Well, It could be that, but then it just would be like not the smallest, right? So yeah, that could recapture this larger cup that we're in. That makes a lot of sense to me. And then it would retest probably a little bit lower, something like that. Yeah, and then move up to like $5, which doesn't seem like anything now, but that would be like the next major level. So this is something I could totally see happening. And then you would get like a larger correction and then maybe start again. In terms of like macro moves, you know, to me, like I thought this was the M. So I just may be off. Like I need to be patient and just sort of wait it out and see. It could be that I can't see anything now. Yeah, this could be the first part. This is the second part of the M. And then that would make sense if you continued upward. Or, you know, we'll have to wait and see. And by the M, I'm talking about that fractal video that I posted the other day. So you can go check that out. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there for right now. I really don't feel very worried at all. The only thing that would make me significantly worried is if we broke beneath that 397 and we just stayed there for a time. We did not. We exited it very quickly. And anything above that is fine. Like it's safe territory for us. So, all right. Have a good one. I'll talk to you later.